Hi everyone, please let me know if you can hear me using a new device versus a phone that I normally utilize. Hopefully this is clear to you guys. On my end it looks fuzzy. If it's not clear, please let me know what you think and if it looks good or bad. Cheers everyone. Happy to see you guys logging on. Just trying to get things situated and get you guys set up. I'll wave to as many of you as I can. Just know it's all love. If I miss you, I will catch you another time. Thank you for tuning in. So today we're going to be talking about branding, marketing. It's going to be a little bit different. I will be looking at my computer screen a bit. Normally I write down your questions onto my little book and then answer them from there. But you guys, I noticed, seem to have a theme, which was a lot of people were asking questions in regards to intellectual property. So I am going to make it my point to answer first questions about intellectual property, because I noticed that's what a lot of people seem to really want to inquire about. So good afternoon to everyone. Good morning to those who are in Pacific time, LA. Shout out and love to you guys. And cheers to my UK fam. So good evening to you guys out there. I'm looking forward to... So while we wait, feel free to drop where you're from, what city, what state, what country you're from if you're tuning in. And the reason why I ask is because I will be doing a giveaway. So we will be picking 3 people who will be getting $150 via Cash App. So if you are around, you put your city down. If it's a country that we're doing the US and Canada right now. But if I notice a lot of people from out of country here, then next time we do a session, we're going to add another country. So looks like we're going to be adding Germany to the list. Cheers, love. And let me open up your list of questions. You guys had some amazing questions, first off. And I was saying before, lots of people were asking questions in regards to intellectual property. So out of everything we mentioned, from branding to marketing, it looks like intellectual property was the most popular question a lot of you had surrounded your questions around. I'm opening questions now. Cheers everyone. Shout out to LA again, and Atlanta and Texas. Of course, love to New York City. That is the city I live in right now. So there's always great to see my people in the building. I have a lot of love for New York since I live here. Okay. So once again, I'm just pulling up your questions so that I can answer your questions to the best of my abilities today. You guys asked some really good questions, and I'm going to start, I think, with just a basic rundown on branding, marketing, and then I'm going to start answering your questions in regards to, what's going on for today. So do you guys want to start with branding, marketing, or intellectual property? Go. Whoever answers first, I will be discussing your subject first. So do we start with branding, marketing, intellectual property first? So, or e-commerce, because we're also going to tackle a little bit of e-commerce today. Branding, boom. Thank you, Giselle. We're going to be going in branding first. Let me open this. All right, so one of the first things I want you to understand with branding, and if you are at home watching and you are able to speak out loud, please feel free to say this out loud. You set the tone for how you will be treated in business. That to me is branding 101, period. 101, it's so important for you guys to understand that you set the brand. When you are setting your pace, when you want someone to know who you are the one who is setting the pace for that. I wanted to share a presentation with you guys. I'm not too sure how to do that. So I'm going to be emailing it to you. Of course, I ask that you don't just use it without permission for classes, because this is a presentation that we actually give in classrooms. So I'm going to be scrolling through it with you guys. And I'll just show you my computer screen. So I'm going to be going to my computer screen. Can you guys all see that? So slide number 1, you set the tone of how you will be treated. I think it's so important for you guys to understand that. So, branding. I think this picture summarizes everything that branding is. Advertising, identity, trust, logo, marketing, strategy, advertising, design. The list continues. Value. So oftentimes when people are creating a brand, they forget to ensure that they're actually adding value to the market. They need to advert. They need to market. Your design is important. Your logo is important. You know, let's be honest. I've had clothing companies that I thought the stuff was pretty, but because I didn't like the logo and it was all over the clothing, or because it was on the clothing, I didn't wear it. Meanwhile, if you brand your item properly, you won't even mind if a logo is on the shirt or not. So keep that in mind. What would you like to wear? And is whatever you're interested in wearing something that is marketable and something that more than one person would be interested in wearing? So branding, marketing, intellectual property. So for those who don't know, some things will be redundant if you are a pro at this, and then some things will be great for beginners when it comes to this. So branding. Branding is when an idea or image is marketed so that is recognizable by many people and identify with certain service or product when there are many other companies offering the name service or product. The reason why I thought it was important to write that down and break that down is because one thing that people forget is becoming recognizable by many people. It's great to create a brand that you love, but it's also important that you include the demographics of the people that you want to actually wear your product or utilize your product or you give service to. So rather you're in the field of being a non-profit and you're doing social services and giving back to people, it's really important in branding that it's very clear that that's what you're doing. Another aspect is marketing. The action or business of promoting and selling products or services, including market research and advertising. Why is it important to do so? So it's really important because if you think about it, who are you really targeting, right? So sometimes even your branding is not clear enough, but it's through your market and your market research of knowing who are your competitors. How can you compete with them, right? How can you make sure your prices aren't like overpriced? Who else is in this market with you? Who else is in this space of wanting to create the same product? You know, of course, it's always best when you can have a product that nobody is competing against, right? But realistically, not everyone can do that. So maybe you're going to have something that more than one person also provides, right? It's like, I will use an example. I know a woman who sells eyelashes. There are lots of people in the market who sell eyelashes. So it was really important in her marketing strategy that she distinguished herself from other people who sold it. You know, how do you apply it? Is the application easier for her? Is it something that somebody who's never done it before can easily do? Is it something that you would be fighting to do? So when you think about these things, these all go into marketing. You know, people forget oftentimes why it's so important to create a marketing strategy, but it's never a good idea to just run into a fight without at least some bullets in your gun, right? So I really, especially if it's a gunfight, yeah? So in marketing, 9 out of 10 chances are whatever idea you've created, there's someone who has thought of it and has created it or attempted it. Rather they failed or succeeded, does not matter to you. It's about how you're going to succeed and how you're going to make sure you don't fail. And I'll say that because oftentimes another thing I notice, even like in the education realm, I'll hear people say, oh, there's like 5 or 10 people doing this program in the school systems. There could be 2,000 people doing that program in the school system. It doesn't matter who else is doing it in the school system. It's about what you're doing in the school system. So to go back to me, and I'll show you the screen again soon. I say that to say, keep in mind, like when I created a financial literacy curriculum, there were many people who had finance programs in the school system. Many no one really knew about, and there was a few that people actually did know. But I felt that when they were teaching the youth, it wasn't from a child-friendly format where it was more just like a computer, A plus B equals C, versus a story or a way to engage the children and allow them to have fun to learn financial literacy. So for me, when I did my market research, I noticed that the trend was a lot of them were kind of dictionary formatted educational tools. I didn't like that. I wanted to change that marketing aspect for myself. And when I created a finance curriculum, I made sure, besides doing my market research and seeing who my competitors were, I made sure I looked at how were their programs set up. Was it exactly the way I was thinking of it in my head? Even down to the way I test children was different. So to give you an example, feel free to steal this idea. When I test youth financial literacy, when we first go in, we have to do an assessment test. This assessment test allows us to know, which is part of our market research, how much financial literacy knowledge our youth actually had before I walked into the room. So, of course, a lot of them didn't really have much information. And this didn't matter if it was an underserved community or a location where, the people were living luxurious lives in upper D crew, right? So I go into the schools, and the first thing we did was a financial crossword puzzle. The financial crossword puzzle was how we tested our youth, but they thought they were just doing a crossword puzzle, and we would give them an incentive to ensure that they did their best that they could do. Could be a $20 Target card. It could have been a silver coin and let them know about appreciation and depreciation. But what I learned in my market research is that most students, when they're being tested, if they know it's a test, don't pass the test with flying colors. They tend to get nervous, especially in underserved communities. So in a way to avoid that, I created a financial crossword puzzle. And while we gave these kids these financial crossword puzzles and they were all competing to win whatever the prize was, right? There was a silver coin, like I mentioned earlier, or they were trying to compete to win a $20 Target card or a Walmart card, whatever. Sometimes the school supplied it, sometimes we supplied it out of our own pockets because we knew the importance of engaging these youth. And by the time they were done answering the questions, we would know by assessment how much financial knowledge they actually had, right? Then I would actually have my research, my personal research in that market, in that school, that classroom, so I could know what I need to focus on. What did they already have an understanding and a grasp on? What were they struggling to comprehend? And then I was able to then take that market research. That allowed me to, afterwards, after having them in my program, rather the school took all 8 classes or took 4 out of the 8 classes in my curriculum, I then took that market research and I gave them another financial crossword puzzle. And then that financial crossword puzzle, I was able to then test how much more knowledge were they able to retain from the classes I took from them, that I gave them. So at the end of it, on average, I was able to then see how many people were actually retaining information, how many of my youth were keeping that information in their heads and actually learning from me. So we noticed that through minor tweakings, where we created activity sheets that looked more like they were just a fun game, that the kids were retaining more information, and that became my model. So it's really important when you're doing your market research that you go out there, you test with actual physical specimen in people, right? If you don't have money for every person that you want to test with, start with your friends and family. If you don't have friends and family, then create an ad and create one incentive, even if it's, $100, and one person will win $100 randomly. Create a lotto. Whatever it is that you need to do, or even if it's something where you say $20 per person, and you need 5 people just to start. Wherever you start, that's all that matters, is that you do start. And what I mean by that is your market research is everything. So if you're not doing market research, you're wasting your time. And what I mean by that is not really that you're wasting your time. I'm just exaggerating. I just really want you to understand why it's so important for you to do market research before you just take your money, your coins, take your time and jump into something. So that was another thing that's really important in marketing and branding. And intellectual property, for those who don't know, since we're going to be going into all of these a little bit individually, intellectual property is a property right that can be protected under federal and state law, including copyrights, ideas, discoveries, and inventions. The term intellectual property relates to intangible property, such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets, which we'll discuss what those things are. So why is it important to do so? Why is it important to protect your work? In a world where $30 you can copyright a song, or with $55 you can copyright your art or a book with artwork, many adults have their ideas stolen on a regular basis. And I think that doesn't make sense, especially when you are in a position to now, for most of you, just go onto the government's website and file a copyright or pay a company to do so if you're afraid to do so yourself. Once again, one of the things, and if you guys find it like you think would be useful, I even think I might do like a little video and talk people through how to file a copyright, how to file a trademark, basics. If you're going to do it yourself. It's not easy necessarily for like a trademark. There's a little bit more work and more steps involved. But at that same point, it's not hard to the point that you couldn't do it. So I do just want you guys to know that. And I will be continuing. So I'm a firm believer in marketing and branding that the universe gives you what you believe you deserve. So what I mean by that is affirmation. Before you even start with your branding, your marketing, you need to believe and affirm that whatever product you're creating and putting into the world will actually work. Okay? So what I mean by that is that realistically, if you don't believe it's going to work, if you don't believe your product is the best or the bomb, if you don't believe that your product is what everybody should have in their household or should be signing up for or should be utilizing, realistically, you should not continue until you can truly believe in it, affirm that it's going to be amazing, and execute to the level of genius that you would like to see in the world. So the universe, once again, gives you what you believe you deserve. So if you believe you deserve $1 million clothing brand, then you'll do all the work and everything that you can to make that $1 million clothing label happen. And you will put that energy into it. You will affirm it. You will say it. You will speak it into existence. And you will do the actions to actually make this happen. It's so important that you guys understand that you can't just sit back and decide, oh, I want to make $1 million brand. But then you're not actually putting that work into making $1 million brand. If you're not taking the steps, if you're not willing to be up till 5 a.m. to do, and have sleepless nights, if you're not willing to go out in the snow and rain, if you're not willing to embrace the uncomfortable aspects of building a brand, then you need to stop and first get your mind right. You need to first stop and believe that you deserve it. So, continuing, part of branding is pricing. Your pricing is everything. When I tell you pricing is everything, pricing is everything. So with that said, I'm going to go back to my computer screen and show you guys my computer screen, all right? So, when we're in the classrooms is one of the things that we give our youth, right? So you guys can kind of see it. Pricing. How much do you need to spend to make it? How much do you need or want to charge? What do competitors charge? What are customers willing to spend? This is a very major part of your branding and your marketing. You know, you can't, if you have an item and it costs $50 to make it, and when you do your market research, and even when you try to sell it, you realize you can only sell it for $55. You then have to sit there and think about, is it worth making that item? Is it worth it? Realistically, does it make sense to make an item that you will not be truly able to sell for a profit? If your profit margin is only $5, that is a problem. So if your profit margin is too low for the cost of item, then it is important for you to do your research and see if you could find better pricing. So in finding better pricing, I think it's really important that you look around. Of course, you don't want to compromise when it comes to quality of item. So I'm not telling you, hey, in order for you to get a good price, that you should compromise on that. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm telling you to do is do your research. So to give you an example, there are companies like, let's say if you need packaging, most people know Uline. Uline is a packaging company which also allows people to build business credit. Business credit is very important. So a lot of people use that as a vendor. They have packaging, they have boxes. Their boxes might cost, let's say, $2 for a very pretty vinyl wrap box. Then you go to another company. Their box is $1, but their dollar box is rubbish. It can barely hold the package together. You're not able to mail it to your customers, and you still have to put it in something else to protect the box. Think about that. In the long run, how much is it actually costing you to go the cheaper route? So cheaper is not necessarily better, but it is a very good thing to look around and price and also get samples to see who has the best options. Let's say, for instance, you make jewelry. So Celestine, cheers. She makes beautiful jewelry. She makes crystals, crystal-infused jewelry, things of that nature. With her crystal-infused jewelry, I bet you she goes to a wholesaler to buy her crystals. Or she has a place where she gets really, really good prices on her crystals. Then she can then mark up the pricing the way she feels fit and get what she deserves for the blood, sweat, equity, and energy that she puts into her work. Of course, she has to make sure that she works in what are other people pricing, what makes mine different, what allows me to charge maybe more than other people, do I have the clientele for that? Who is my clientele? So pricing is everything when you are branding and marketing. So you really need to be mindful how much you do spend to make your item. Because if your profit margin is really low, then it's almost like, what's the point? To give you an example, a lot of authors, if you self-publish, sometimes your book can cost $2 to $3 to make it. Sometimes even $5, $6. On average, you're selling your book for $10 to $15, depending what kind of book, what kind of information, how big your book is. The list continues. Pricing is everything. So in that situation, you're at least making a profit. But then there's a lot of work that goes into actually the marketing aspect of being a self-published author. So some people go, oh, I'm going to be a self-published author because I get to keep more profit. Yeah, you might keep more profit, but how much money are you going to actually spend in your marketing, right? So cheers, Mimi. So Melly Mel, love to you. So when you think about that, branding, marketing, you also have to think about what is going to be your budget and how much you're going to spend on these items and how much do you need or want to charge. So if you need to make a profit of $100 and your item only is going to give you a profit of $20, you either have to rethink the formula, rethink the item, rethink the demographic of who you're selling to. The list continues. So for anyone asking where you get the email for your PowerPoint, there's a link tree at the end of this. You can go to the link tree and sign up there. But everyone who signed up on the link tree will be getting a copy of this. So with that said, how much do your competitors charge? I mentioned it earlier, but that's also important as well, to know how much the people you're competing against are going to actually charge people. Now, if you do your branding properly, it doesn't matter what they charge, right? To give you an example, When I first started with speaking engagements, to just give you an example, I remember that I was at the price point of, let's say, $250 sometimes to speak at a school or to speak at a event, networking event. The list continues. At first, no one really knew who I was because I came from a corporate background. And so anyone asking also for repeats, I will be posting this on YouTube. So anyone who signed up, you'll be able to get any of the information that we talked about today on there. So back to what I was saying. So when I first started, I used to get speaking engagements. Some of them I would do for free to build my name and my relationships with the communities that I wanted to serve in. And to also build relationships with, all of these basics, right? So that's how I started at like free $250. And I knew my worth, I knew my value, but I also knew I needed to prove who I was to the communities I wanted to serve. I also knew that I needed to build my fan base. I also knew that it was important that my people got to see me. And I also knew that there were communities that were underserved that might not be able to afford me. So I had my pricing of what I wanted to get paid. I also did my research to make sure, once again, as that word research, I made sure I did my research to find out what were other speakers getting paid. So I saw a range from free to $5,000, $10,000 per speaking engagement. We're getting paid $10,000, $20,000 to do conferences and workshops. I knew I wanted to work my way to that level, but I also knew it was important that I build an online presence. And the YouTube channel name is Kids Who Bank. So I just made sure, like, that was my next thing, was like, okay, let me build myself up. Let me brand myself. Let me make sure people knew who I am in the communities I want to be in and beyond, right? So as I was doing that, did my competitors' research. I looked at what customers were willing to spend for speakers, and this translates on every level. And then I started to stick to my gun. So I started out at free or $250, and then I got to a point where I started getting paid for speaking engagements, and I started being in a lot of schools with the curriculum, and the list continues. And because of that, I made sure I was like, okay, you know what? It's time for me to step my game up, and I know I can ask for more because now I can show them who I am. So in showing them who I am, now I average $2,500, $5,000, $10,000. I'm not saying it's like $1 million for speaking engagements. I'm not getting $50,000. And I know, yes, some people are getting $50,000 to speak at a college or a school, but I have the price that I am happy with. Doesn't matter what someone else gets paid at. I could speak on the same conference with 20 other people, and I could have been the person who got paid the least on that conference. But if I got paid the amount that I'm happy that I was paid, that's all that matters. I say that to say to you, set your price, but also make sure when you receive your price that you're comfortable with that price. It doesn't matter what anyone else got paid. Doesn't matter who got what, whatever. It's about what was your price? What was the number you wanted? What did you think you expected or deserved? So, now I'm at a price, right? To give you an example, I was supposed to be in Hawaii in May. The person who reached out to me, the contractor for Hawaii, not only were they paying for my flight, they paid for my family's flight, they paid for hotel expenses, they paid for basically up to 4 people, including an assistant for me to come with me if I wanted it. And they were also going to, they gave the money up front. They booked the hotel. I got to choose my hotel and resort. And then they were also going to pay me $20,000 to come out and do 2 days of workshops with college and high school students. And I say that not to gloat about money or expenses, because of obviously now, we are now in April and May is not happening because we're in New York City and a lot of the US and world are on lockdown. But I say that to say, I had to work my way to that level. But I also had to know how to budget, how to negotiate, how to present myself, who to target. Who do you reach out to? Who are the people that are the gatekeepers with the money who would be willing to pay for your services? So I say that to say, once again, even when you get so big, right? You'll to me, this is a bigger level, right? But even as I'm starting to make that kind of money where I'm like, okay, these are my workshops. This is what I provide. This is what I can provide to your students. We can give these books, etc. These are my products. These are the items that I can package and bundle deal. A major part of branding and marketing is bundling. When you bundle your gifts, it works in your favor. So I have a book. My book on average sells for $10, right? Maybe I'll bundle that well, $10. My book on average sells for $15. When I'm branding and marketing and budgeting, I'll tell people, hey, I'll throw in the book at $10 per book as well, right? So oftentimes when I get a package, I'm not just getting a package to speak. I'm getting a package as well for my books, and which helps me in the long run because that's branding. More people with my books in their hands. More people who will be able to see my product. More people who know who I am. And when I leave, you're leaving them with something. It's so important, especially if you're doing speaking engagements, that you leave something behind. A pamphlet, paperwork, a one-sheeter, even if it's just an engagement sheet. Don't walk in there with your hands empty-handed. That's not cool. So knowing that, understanding that, that's kind of what I do. That's who I am when it comes to speaking engagements, right? But that doesn't stop me from going to a church or going to an organization that has like 15 people who are signed up and speaking and giving a presentation for free. And the reason why I say that is because it's still important to me to give back. Laws of reciprocation are so important. Whether you're doing branding or marketing, it is so important that you're giving back. It's so important that you also have a balance in whatever you do. And you know what's so funny? People will be like, well, how could you get paid so much money for schools and you do like schools for free? So 2019, we did 217 schools with our finance curriculum. And out of those 217 schools, we did 44 schools for free. I had a person who used to be a friend. I kind of cut her off after the conversation. Yeah, I'm savage like that. And it's okay to be savage like that because you want to control the energies that are around you. You want to control your friends and who the kind of energy they carry. And I was speaking to her and she was, like, Jatali, why did you do 44 schools for free with your finance curriculum when so many schools are paying you so much money to do it, and you had to turn away some schools who were paying for you to do it because you didn't have enough instructors or you weren't able to do it yourself because you were doing a school for free. And I was just like, first off, there are a lot of underserved communities that don't have the money, that have the budget to learn what I am teaching. So it is important that I am still there, that I'm still engaging those students because I started this to help them. So if I become popular and then I turn around and I say, I'm not going to serve in your community because you don't have the budget or the money for me, or the gatekeepers who do have the budget in your community are not spending it on me, then what does it really say about me and what I really wanted to do? Was it that I really wanted to accomplish financial literacy for all, or was it that I wanted to just accomplish financial literacy to become rich or whatever? And that goes for your product. And no matter what product you have, I don't care if it's eyelashes, like I mentioned earlier, right? The woman with the eyelash business. There is always a level of giving back. What are you doing to give back and serve your community? I don't care if it's going to a homeless shelter or a shelter of battered women and doing a beautification day where you allow them to, those who are interested, give them free eyelashes and do their makeup for a day. It is so important that we remain in touch with our communities, in touch with reality, in touch with the people that you started, who helped you start most of the time and paved your way to get to wherever you are in your status. And so on that note, some branding, marketing tips, so important. Going to the next slide. Mind frame is everything. So I'm saying it throughout this. Mind frame is everything. So with that said, feel free to repeat after me. I say this at every school that we go to, and it's an affirmation that I truly believe in. And I will be using millionaire just because a lot of our people are becoming millionaires, and it's an easier goal now to become closer to becoming a millionaire. So I want you guys to repeat after me. I hope you're repeating. I am one idea away from being a millionaire. I really want you to believe that. That affirmation is so important. You know, a lot of people don't realize that how close they are. You know, it's just literally, it takes one idea. It's just one idea away from being one. And I say that, I speak from experience. And I remember hitting my head against the wall and thinking like, I will never be one, probably not. And I had to change that mind frame because I was an underachiever in certain ways because I didn't know that I could achieve my financial goals. But once I believed that I could, it was so much easier for things to fall into line and fall into place. And it was also like I locked in like a pit bull towards my purpose, my goal, what I wanted to accomplish. You're going to need that in branding and marketing, in life, in business. You're going to need to be able to think about that. So, place, branding and marketing. It is so important that you choose your place and your location. Time is going quickly, so I'm going to go a little bit quicker. So once again, if it ends at 1, I will be coming back on for 30 minutes afterwards. You just need to find my name again and click on my live. So place, where will you ship, store, sell your products or services? I'm going to show you my little map, the slide again. Here you go, guys. So, place, where will you ship, store, sell your products and services? Very important. Inventory, housing, shelves. Do you need to make more shelves in your house? Transport, are you shipping it? Are you hand delivering it? Locations, is it in store? Is it online? Right? Location-based marketing versus proximity marketing. The reason why that is important for those who do not know, because that is going to affect your profit margin. That is going to affect your space, your mentality, your level of responsibility outside of your home or inside of your home. Let's be honest, sometimes, let's say if you have a shipping job company, right, and you need to ship products out, it can get really annoying to walk into your house and have 1 million boxes all around your house. I remember there was this one school, this one district that ordered 10,000 books in California. I was so excited, but I had to sign all 10,000 books. Do you know how crazy my living room looked? Right? So think about that. Can you handle all those books in your space? You know what I mean? The mess that might come with shipping, the boxing, the packaging, the bubble wrappers, whatever you're utilizing. Also, keep in mind something like, shout out to Raquel, aka Rock Z. She's an amazing e-commerce young lady. So when you talk about shipping, for instance, we did, I remember last year in 2019, we did a give back to women who lived in shelters. So we started collecting items to donate to women who lived in shelters. My house looked like Goodwill or something. Literally, there were bags everywhere. And then we had to separate those bags and we had to put in everything from tampons to crayons to coloring books for their children and, essentials and wet ones and hand sanitizer. And we had all these amazing items that we were able to accumulate together. And then, of course, time to pack it up, right? I don't have a warehouse. I don't have an external office at that time. So everything was done in my house. So when everything's done in your house, what happens? Your house looks like looks like a mess, like chaos. And, so it's 2 to 3 weeks. For 2 to 3 weeks, I had all these boxes and bags of items that were lying all around my house. So you have to think about the emotional, mental aspect of shipping and handling, and do you want to mess in your house, and can you handle everything? And if you are in a space to purchase a location, a space, an office space, rather it's WeWork or a full building or whatever it is that you're doing, how does that benefit you? So once again, where will you ship, store, sell your products and services? Inventory, housing or shelves, transport, shipping, hand delivery. Think about, does it need to be in a freezer? Do you need to have bags that keep your item cold? Think about, do you need your house to be at a certain temperature, which is not comfortable for you? So maybe you need to have a warehouse so that your item can be in a colder warehouse location. All of that. So, diversify your portfolio. When you're creating a business or a brand, it's also important that you can do the same. So, now that we've had that conversation, I'm going to be also just mentioning, we're going to go down to, I think we're going to tackle intellectual property next. You guys asked a lot of questions about intellectual property, so I'm going to just kind of go over some basics, some fundamentals. So intellectual property, once again, copyrights, trademarks, that whole beautiful world, right? So I'm going to show you 4 types of intellectual property on my screen. So, 4 types of intellectual property to protect your idea. Trade secrets protects secret information, new invention, Coke formula, etc. Trademarks protects brands such as Apple for cell phones, etc. Copyrights protects works of authorship, books, movies, drawings, etc. And patents protects functional or ornamental features, swipe feature on iPhone design, etc. These are the 4 types of intellectual property to protect your idea. The main 4 types to protect your idea. Even trade secrets, like let's say you had the most slamming buttermilk biscuit recipe. You can take that recipe, especially if you're going to brand it and sell it, and protect that recipe, especially if it's unique, something that is exclusive to you, and you don't have any competitors who will really be like, oh no, I've been doing this for years, and they can't prove it. Protect it. It is so important that you protect your intellectual property, that your work. I can't stress enough to you why it is important, but I will give you a story. There was a woman, and lots of you who've heard me talking about intellectual property know about this story, but there was a woman, and basically, long story short, she had a dance studio that she loved, and it was a really unique dance concept. And for her dance studio, long story short, she had a lot of people who were coming, signing up, but she never protected and trademarked the name, which was a very unique name. I won't say the name, because I don't want to get sued or anything, because I know her personal story. But she had a very unique brand name. She had a very unique concept, and it was something that was never done before. And one of the people who came to her actual dance workshops, stole the idea, went and trademarked the name, and then came and hit her with a cease and desist letter, telling her that she's going to be hiring a bunch of professionals to do the workouts, to teach the same workout, same concept, same dance with the same name, because she thought it was such an amazing idea that it should be global. And the young lady was just like, but it's my idea, I started it, you can't do this, I'm all over social media, and people know who I am, they know I started this. But what ended up happening is that she didn't protect it, she didn't trademark it, she didn't make sure she was protected in any real way. So what ended up happening was that, savage, innit? So what ended up happening is that person was able to get away with doing that. And now that brand is a very big brand. I won't name the brand. And it still is around. The woman who stole the idea is multi-millionaire off of the brand and idea. And no one really knows the person who started it as much as they know the person who stole the idea. And all that person can do is be bitter and sit there and complain about, oh, she stole my idea. That was, I can't believe she did that to me. And it's been at least 10 years. And 10 years later, the brand is everywhere. I've seen this brand on Essence and all these places. And a lot of people don't know that really, truly, that person stole that idea. But that is why it's important. And I share that story to tell you it's really important to protect your trade secrets, your trademarks, your copyrights, your patents. If you were here for the last one in regards to investing, I mentioned a trick for copywriting. So let's say you write songs. Write a songbook. Yes, every song, if you copyright it individually, is $33. That is expensive. It can add up. But if you have 50 songs pre-written, put that in one book and write a songbook. That is your songbook. Copyright the book of 100 pages or 50 pages. That book now at $33, just helped you copyright all your music. And you now have control over that copyright. So it's really important that you understand that there's always a way. If there's a will, there's a way. There are even, like, let's say you need a trademark. Trademarks are a little bit more complicated. USPTO.gov is really an amazing website. So I always tell people, like, hey, yeah, you know, go to USPTO.gov, look at the paperwork, print it out. It honestly, to me, is a relatively easy thing to fill out. If you don't understand it, have someone in your circle that can help you break it down, right? Even me, sometimes I'll do consultations. Well, I'll talk people through the process of filling out a trademark and getting their trademarks. You know, so like, let's say you could trademark your name, your company name. You could trademark a slogan if you do it the right way. There's so many things. So someone says they had an idea stolen, paid for an application development, sent all plans and interface, only to be told they're also working on the same thing 3 months later. Which is also why it's important to make people sign NDAs. So before I continue, the reason why I read that and I wanted to say that is because it's really important for you to understand that anyone you're going to share one of your ideas with, I don't care if it's your sister or your cousin, it could be your dad's. Either have, if it's a patent or like a patent, you know, like where you have an idea of something unique. Let's say you created the Ferris wheel and you wanted to get a patent on the Ferris wheel. Have a book, write down your ideas. That will be your patent book. That will be your idea book. In that idea book, you'll also leave space where you will list date, time, and name of person who saw it, and then date again, right? So everyone you show your patents to, have them sign the book. If you can't afford an official NDA, or you're afraid that they might not sign the NDA, or you don't want to insult their intelligence, or, which honestly, if it's a true friend, they won't feel insulted by you asking for that security. But have a book. Write your ideas in that book. And every time you speak to someone and you sit down with someone and you have a meeting with them, have them sign their signature and have some kind of proof that, hey, I met with them this day. This is their signature. This is a date that was timestamped. Before you give them the idea or after you give them the idea. But while you're there, sitting down, do that. If it's virtual, then you need to do the same thing virtually. Either have them get it, sign and date and email it back to you, or have them sign an NDA, or both. Non-disclosure are so important. NDA, non-disclosures are so important for people who are doing business. I don't care how many people you trust. I've seen best friends become enemies when it comes to this whole NDA thing. So keep that in mind. Please be mindful, protect yourself. So I was saying with the USPTO.gov website, honestly, they have everything. You could do your market research to make sure that, let's say, for me, money is not my God was my first official trademark that I filed by myself. Didn't pay anyone to do it. I felt like I was like, you know what? Let me figure this out. Let me give you a little trick. So one of the best ways to get a trademark approved, look up other people who have trademarks that were approved in the same field as you. When I say that, I mean it. You can base your trademark information. If it's a slogan, look to see where they went wrong. Look to see how they were approved. Who was approved? Let's say Cardi B. I know lots of people like her music. A lot of people know her for saying "oker" or "oker." I don't know. I can't pronounce it, but OKURRR, right? Okay, I don't know. I can't do it, but you get the point. A lot of people know her for saying this catchphrase. When Cardi B tried to file a trademark and protect it, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, she's so smart, she's so genius." It was a smart move to try to do so. She was denied. Why was she denied? Because other people had been using it. They were able to prove it. There was too much. It was more of a slogan. You can't just take a slogan and utilize it if it's not something that you're actually using as, let's say if it's a part of your motto, your company profile, the list continues. If it's just a word that you said, you can't just decide you want to, I just say this word, I'm going to do it. But like in her situation, she was denied, right? But now let's say you have a catchphrase that you wanna go and get trademarked and protected, like for shizzle my nizzle or something, right? Yes, somebody actually has for shizzle my nizzle trademarked. Now, what you could do is find people whose trademarks were approved and how were they approved. Nike's Just Do It. That is their slogan. How did Nike get that slogan approved? Little secret, when you go on uspto.gov, you can go in a search, you can put in anything that has been trademarked legally, and you will find not only the person who filed that trademark, but what documents they submitted to be approved, or what documents they submitted that were rejected, right? All of those things are public information. So, like, let's say for me, money is not my God. I have it as a service mark. I also use it as my slogan, because money is not my God. And that was my first approved trademark. So using that, when I was doing the research for that years ago, when I was first looking into this, this is before I actually went to school for this. You know, I'm in law school now. I take a lot of cannabis law and intellectual property classes, but in the mix of my classes. But when I was starting out, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So what I turned around and did was I looked up people whose slogans I knew were popular, and I looked to see who was approved. Why were people, hey Lin. So why were people rejected? Why were people approved? Who was approved? What documents did they submit when they were approved for their trademark? So important that you look into that, because guess what? That allowed me to have a flawless, and when I say flawless submission. I knew what kind of specimen to submit. Your specimen basically is usually the best thing to do is if it's not a logo, and it's just like a slogan or words, like money is not my God or just words, and I wanted to have creativity as to how I designed the words on a shirt, then you just design the words. Plain lettering. Don't do any fancy lettering. Don't say, oh, it has to be black, green, and red, because then what happens is you pigeonhole yourself. Into that. And in regards to DJ D-Nice Club Quarantine trademark, he might have submitted for a trademark, which I think he did, but that doesn't mean it was approved yet. Trademark is a process. So he might be the first one to submit for a club quarantine trademark, but it's a process. So just to get an attorney to be signed to you takes generally 2 to 3 months. And then there's a whole process where they look over your work, and then they submit publicly so that people who want to challenge you, because they're like, oh, I have this, I've been using this, and I have proof that this is something that I have protected, or hit them with the NDA that I told DJ D-Nice X, Y, and Z. Not saying that this happens or it will happen, but there will be a process before he's either approved or rejected for his trademark. So it's really important when you think about these things that you lock in. And when I say lock in, I mean you lock in when it comes to your trademark, and just look at people who were approved before. So it's really that simple sometimes. And there's a lot of paperwork. And I know there are a lot of people who get overwhelmed with paperwork, but there are a lot of companies that do trademarks. So what I'm going to also be doing is at the end of this, the people who signed up, I will be emailing you a list of companies, rather it's online that you can utilize, or human beings that I've worked with in the past that do trademarks. One of the ones that most people know is actually, I'm going to email it to you, because if I tell you, then you might not even care to try to do it yourself. But I will say it is easier than you can imagine to do a trademark, especially when you look at the guidelines. It's just like basically looking at a template on how to do something. And I want you guys to understand that template is fine to do so. Like, it's okay to look at these things. Before I continue, is there a quick question about trademarks, copyrights, intellectual property that you guys would like to talk about? Giving you guys 1 minute, and then I'm going to proceed. Okay, opening up my next bullet points of things I'm going to tackle with you guys. So, another thing about trademarks that I think is really... So for Ashley, so getting legal assistance, I will be emailing you guys some list of companies that I've used online that worked really well when it comes to the legal aspect. And once again, so an NDA, for those who are asking, is a non-disclosure form, which allows you to basically, before you do work with someone, protect your brand, protect who you are. This might go out soon. I will be logging right back in to continue talking about this a little bit further, because there are still some things that I didn't finish going over, but I'm going to continue. Hold on. Okay. All right. So, I think it's just also important that when you think about trademarks, that you also realize that it doesn't matter how long you've been utilizing something. It's about who goes to the trademark office, uspto.gov, where you do patents, trademarks, or copyright. You go to the copyright website. Go to these websites. Do these things yourself first. Even if you wrote a book, you published it, self-published or whatever you published it. Even if you have your ISBN and whatever else you need, barcodes to publish your book. It doesn't matter when you submitted your book. Somebody could actually take your book and copyright your book and then hit you with a cease and desist letter and tell you that you can't use that. For those who are asking if it needs to be administered by a lawyer, no, it does not need to be administered by a lawyer. But I will tell you that it is also great to notarize any NDA that you have. So if you're able to go to a notary, great. If you can't, there's even an app where you can be in your comfort of your house and they're in the comfort of their house, and it's a legal app that notarizes, and where you have to upload your passport picture or ID picture and a piece of mail proving who you are and where you live, and you can get it virtually notarized. So that's another thing that I will be sending to you guys. So an NDA does not need to be administered by a lawyer. If you have a lawyer that you want to have create your particular NDA, great. Especially if it's going to be complicated. But if it's a simple form, there are a lot of, Google it. There's a lot of forms online that help with NDAs. And I think sometimes we forget the magic of Google. Like, seriously, all jokes aside. With that said, I think it's really important that you understand that nothing you do everything has an option. And Google has created something that's really great. Back to branding and marketing, also, I will be sending you some websites that I think are cool that help with branding and marketing. Rather, it's Canva, which allows you to, do your flyers and try to look all fancy and official. And then next, if you have, let's say, beyond Canva, there are a lot of Envato. Envato allows you to make videos and infographics and things of that nature. But these are all apps that I'll be also sending to you guys, so you guys can check it out. So we're gonna go into a little bit of e-commerce. Let me go back, open this. So for e-commerce, I think it's really important that you guys understand different aspects of e-commerce. Drop shipping. Some people were asking me a lot, like, what is drop shipping? Drop shipping. All right, guys, so this is going to cancel. I'm going to close this out and reopen and give you guys a couple of minutes to drop in. So we're going to tackle e-commerce. It's telling me I have 30 seconds remaining. So I'm just going to end this live and restart the live. And then I'm going to be on for about 30 minutes, maybe or less. So just to go roughly over e-commerce, okay? See you guys in a minute. For those of you who are just joining in, I'm continuing the live that I had before. Marketing. For those of you who are just joining in, I'm continuing the live that I had before. Cheers, everyone. I have an idea of how many people I had before, so I'm just going to try to wait for some of you guys to come back on before I continue talking about e-commerce. And then once again, if somebody did miss it, they can always, do that. Okay, so giving a couple minutes so you guys can all log back on. I know how many my numbers and how many people I had in my live, so I'll just wait for that. Cheers to everyone logging back in. So once again, I'm just giving you guys a couple of minutes to come back on. Giving you guys a minute. So in the meantime, while we are waiting, I'm going to be talking about e-commerce, what I know of it. I will be doing another course on e-commerce, probably with an e-commerce professional as well. Shout out to, people who are in the e-commerce world. It's a really important part right now of everything that we do. Once again, cheers to everyone that's logging back in. We're almost there. I'm giving it like one more minute and then I'm going to continue with the e-commerce conversation. All right. With that said, I think I'm going to start now. So e-commerce, there's so many different aspects of e-commerce, from drop shipping to funneling to Amazon, eBay, different platforms, that I want you guys to think of these words, and when I say them, Google them. What is a funnel? What is drop shipping? How do you do e-commerce on Amazon? Amazon, eBay, Shopify, all of these platforms are platforms that allow you to basically brand yourself and build your empire. So part of that building of your empire, for instance, is drop shipping. Drop shipping is basically the practice where, let's say you have a company and your company is doing great and you now need to ship out a lot of things, right? Let's say you can't keep up with how much you need to ship out, or you're busy, or maybe you don't have any interest of going to the post office every other day or once a week or whatever your schedule is going to be, right? Because once again, when it's your business, you get to control your drop shipping. A couple of people texted me and asked me to continue talking about trademarks. So I will talk about that again after e-commerce for a couple of minutes. And whoever did miss that or didn't miss it, you can feel free to just log off. So I say that to say this. Drop shipping is beyond important in everything that you do. If you don't want to be hands-on when it comes to shipping. Looking into dropshipping companies, what they do basically is they take your product and they mail it out for you. Sometimes if it's like a book, they house all of it and they just sell it, they send it directly from themselves. Some companies like Amazon do it. There are pros and cons with every company. To give you an example, in e-commerce, let's say if you're starting an e-commerce brand with Amazon, there are certain things where you have to be very mindful of what you're creating. With Amazon, one of the issues is that somebody else can basically take your product if they see you're doing good, and if you don't have the buy box, Google the word. Thank you to Raquel. Shout out to Raquel for teaching me that word. If you don't have the buy box, what ends up happening is that you are in trouble, my friend. And what I mean by you're in trouble is that what's going to end up happening to you when you don't have the buy box is that you then have competitors who see you're doing well, and they might have a bigger
market than you. They might have more clients, previous clients. They might have more approvals than you. They might have more customer reviews than you. And then your product now, if they start selling it, becomes important to them, right? And then they can lowball you, right? Let's say you sell your product for $20. Now on Amazon, if you don't have the buybacks where you are exclusive rights holder to it, and anyone who wants to sell an item that you sell has to reach out to you first. If you don't have that, then anyone can take your product and sell it, duplicate it, sell it, and then sell it for less or more if they want to, and if they have more marketing backing them and more reviews, and they know that they can get that kind of sell. So what I mean by that, to give you an example, let's say you are doing e-commerce, you're an author, you have a book, you're a self-published author, and your book is on Amazon. If you sell your book on Amazon, and Amazon is a printer of your book, with Amazon being the printer of your book, anyone can purchase your book, wholesale price, and you don't really get a profit from that. What I mean by that is, if your book is $2 per print, just throwing a number out there on Amazon, your $2 per print via Amazon, if you have them publishing your book for you and you leave it live, anybody can now buy your book at $2 and sell it for $20, even if it on your website is $15 on Amazon. Even if that is overpricing your book. Even if it's underbidding your book. Let's say your book is at $10 and they sell it for $8, and now everybody starts buying your book from them on Amazon. They start getting all the reviews. You're not getting a profit from that if they bought it wholesale from Amazon directly. So it's really important that you understand and you read what you're doing. So one of the tricks around that, if you are on Amazon and you're a self-published author, to give you an example, is with Amazon, what you would turn around and do is you would print your books in bulk. After you print your book in bulk, yes, I'm going to tell you right now how to do that. So you would print your book in bulk. Let's say you order 300 copies. Those 300 copies that you just ordered, after you get them, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, until they ship out, you're not allowed to deactivate it. You inactivate your book and you make it so that people can't purchase your book. So only while it's live and they're printing your book, whether it's 2 or 3 days, companies could then also buy your book while it's live. But then you can get a bulk order of your book and then make it deactivated. So only the people who bought a bulk order of your book would be technically able to get a copy of your book. Personally, that just made me stop really using Amazon for printing books. And the next book that I do list on there, because it does have its benefits, and it is a very easy, good way to market and do adverts, especially if you're not really into the whole Facebook ads and Instagram ads and not knowing how to use the metrics for it, because it is a science to it. Then I would suggest you do this suggestion, which is print the book on Amazon, feel free, but just make sure you deactivate it after you get a bulk order of your own books, especially before people know who you are. If, depending how you put the book up, maybe companies won't see it. I'll give you an example, true example, when it comes to me. Before I learned about this, I used to have CreateSpace. I printed my first book with CreateSpace. CreateSpace was purchased, was working with Amazon. Amazon completely took over. Before, on CreateSpace, my book was not live on Amazon. When Amazon took over CreateSpace, my book automatically became live on Amazon. Through one of my mentees, I ended up finding out that PBS Kids was making an average of $20,000 to $30,000 on my book when I wasn't even making that on Amazon's platform, right? I was like doing it the old school way of going vending at events and reaching out to schools and getting school book orders. But here's PBS Kids selling my book and making $20,000 to $30,000 on average off of my book that I wrote, that I self-published, that I own the ISBN to, that I own the copyright to. Doesn't matter when it comes to intellectual property. When it comes to books, copyrights don't matter on Amazon. If you're printing through Amazon, part of their disclosure is that they can sell your books wholesale. And you have to be mindful of that. Who do you want them to sell your book wholesale? So it was a lesson for me. Needless to say, I deactivated it from them and only put up my copies on my page. So whatever, which is funny because I had a glitch version up, and so PBS Kid had like a bunch of copies of my glitch version. And then I'm like worried because I'm like, well, do I then become liable for a copy that was out that had editing issues? Not my concern. Let that be their concern. But if you've ever gotten a book from Amazon that was Kids Who Bank and it had grammatical errors, not my fault. PBS jacked me. And it was the wrong copy. So that's their problem. And, so that's to say basically that Amazon can be good. It can be bad. You can make 30, 50,000. You can make $1 million. And there's different ways that you can do things on Amazon to really build your brand and who you are. But it can also be something that can hurt you. Another part of marketing is Facebook ads. Facebook, Instagram ads can really work in your favor. They can really help you promote your product and your item. And it doesn't have to be $1 million. There are people that I'm going to refer you to who do funnels. So basically what a funnel is, a part of what a funnel is basically when you have a product and idea and your marketing is so ironclad that everything brings back to B or A, right? All roads lead to this one product. Rather it's speaking engagements, someone clicks on Facebook ad, the Facebook ad will mention your products, and then you go on Instagram and you're scrolling on Instagram and you see your product on Instagram. What is your marketing? What is your website? Do you have an item or a product? Do you have a class that you sell? Do you do consultations? You can create funnels out of all these things. All of these items are things you can funnel, and that helps you to package deals, right, as well. Package dealing is so important. I mentioned it earlier in branding and marketing, but in e-commerce it's utmost of importance. To give you an example, I have a Kids Who Bank Financial Literacy workbook. I have a Kids Who Bank actual book, which is Wants versus Needs. And then I do speaking engagements. I do workshops. The list continues. When I reach out to schools, I give them 3 packages. One package will basically just be items, right? The books, the workshop. And then another package will be me physically coming there teaching the kids. Maybe doing a book signing. All those things are things you could funnel and create and do. So I say that because it's so important for you to know that. So some of these tips are also going to come from my mentee, things that she's taught me. So like Raquel, shout out to Raquel Laborde. She has definitely taught me a lot when it comes to e-commerce world. Keyword tool for Amazon. You can find Amazon SEO keywords, right? So there's this app and / website called keywordtool.io, and that allows you to find your SEO keywords. When you have a website in e-commerce, it's really important that you know your SEO, and you're basically optimizing your search. So Google, back in the day, once you had a website and it was like a cooking website, anybody could put in cooking website, and let's say your cooking website was called Blue Chicken. I don't know. I don't even eat chicken, but hey, Blue Chicken. And once somebody put in Blue Chicken, it would have routed to your website. Now with Google SEO, unless you work on your SEO, it does not automatically route to your website. So it's really important that you have keywords like, let's say, food and ingredients and chicken, whatever, that will start. And then the more those words are utilized, let's say people are looking for the healthy vegan, or they're looking for the boho hippie. Find a hashtag, something that you can house, and utilize it. So once again, any apps or websites I mention, even the ones I don't mention now, in every section that we spoke about, branding, marketing, e-commerce, intellectual property, I will be emailing you guys within this week a list of websites and resources and apps and companies that you can utilize to help you. Rather it's a pen company or a company like where you can print backpacks with your logo on it for a very good price. I'll be sending you a list of my favorite vendors and companies. So a lot of beginners make the mistake of not researching their market when it comes to e-commerce. In Amazon, it's really important. If you're putting up your own product listing, you need a UPC code. You can use sites like speedybarcode.com or eBay to get a UPC if you need one, right? If it is a serious product you're trying to create and really build a brand behind it, you want to get registered with the GTIN system on gs1.org. It can be expensive, but it's worth the investment, especially if it's a serious product that you're looking into. And once again, the other website was keywordtool.io. So that's one. I think that it's also important that if you think about, you Google these things. What is a GTIN? What is a speedybarcode.com? And what is a UPC code? If you're going to enter the e-commerce world, those are things that you need to know. So once again, it's the first website, and all these websites will be, if you signed up, will be emailed to you. If you haven't signed up yet, go sign up so you can get the copy of all these emails and these websites and all these apps. So once again, UPC code is really important if you're into the e-commerce world, and if you are trying to build a brand behind it, and you want to get registered with the GTIN system on gs1.org. After you get that data you need, you want to make sure your Amazon listing fits the best criteria so you can be seen on the platform. Don't have a cooking product like a Pyrex, your own version of a Pyrex, and then it's not labeled properly. You're not doing yourself a service. Also try to see how can you narrow sometimes. If you want a specific demographic, how can you get to that demographic and ensure that they see the product that you want to sell? So examples like what color, size, material, durability, the usability, who can it help? You want to paint a very clear picture in the mind of your customer and your consumer and make them have to get your product, right? Make them feel like they cannot go on without your product, right? So like you see this little mark on my face right here. I was on Instagram. This girl's, her e-commerce funnel is popping, and she kept popping up on my feed. Her company is called Gleaming, and it's like vitamin C and turmeric face mask. And I'm like, I'm stuck home. You know what? A face mask. This is the perfect time for a face mask. I can't go and get a facial, right? So that's all marketing. But I knew from the ads what she provided. I knew what kind of items they used. I knew that it was organic looking. It was like healthy turmeric and vitamin C and all the things that I utilized. It wasn't really harsh chemicals. But her ad was able to give me all of that information and put me in a position where I actually wanted to utilize her product and purchase it. So some Amazon listing tips are followed, right? Make sure you have at least 7 clear photos that describe your product. The first photo must be on a white background, very important. Make sure your title uses up all the characters Amazon allows you to have. The longer the better. Jam pack it with tons of keywords about your product. That way when people Google certain keywords, that automatically your product hopefully will pop up or come up on the feed. Make sure your bullet section under the photos have a minimum of 5 bullets filled with info about your product. Make sure your description is filled with info as well, and it's filled with a ton of keywords. Sometimes people think that less is best in e-commerce, especially when it comes to Amazon. It is not best. And here's some easy and free ways to get keywords to stack your listing. Once again, keywordtool.io was one of them, /Amazon. So keywordtool.io/Amazon. And sonar-tool.com/US. And of course, use Amazon itself to look up your SEOs. We're focusing on Amazon right now just because, but you know, a lot of this will transfer over to other platforms as well. So some market research tools to check out: Helium 10, Jungle Scout, AMZ Scout, Keepa, KEEPA, Camel. And if you're serious about creating and building your brand and want to be registered, the Global Trade Item Number was what I was mentioning earlier, GTIN. So Helium 10 also provides keyword help as well. So keywords are going to be really important in e-commerce. Even when, like, let's say I do an Instagram ad, right? I have hashtags that I utilize. Like I might use Afro-Latina, I might use Cabo Verdeana, right? I might use, which is Kizomba or something like that identifies with me, what I like or what I love. I'm in a space of financial literacy. I'll use the hashtag financial literacy. This also goes for Instagram. Your hashtags, if you can create one that is branded to you, that is awesome. So for me, one of the things I say a lot, or two things I say a lot, is money is not my God, or energy is currency. So it's cool if you're able to, when you put in certain hashtags, or Kids Who Bank. If you put in hashtag Kids Who Bank, a lot of things about my organization, people who have attended our galas and our events pop up. That is what you want to do in e-commerce. You want to brand yourself to the point that people are popping up when they see your hashtag and they click on it. They could follow your hashtag. They could be notified every time you say something or you post something. These things are really, really important when you're building your brand. For Facebook, you need to have a product or service you want to promote, of course, and have a set testing budget in mind. Come with the mindset that this will be a testing money phase. In e-commerce, you spend a lot of time testing your phase out and your items out. What I mean by that is, for example, let's say because you have a book, it's a children's book, doesn't mean that automatically you need to say anyone who has children, right? Somebody will think, I just need to, in my marketing, do $20 ad and let them control who sees my ad. Never a good idea. You should control who sees your ads. It's your money that you're investing. You control it. So part of a way of figuring out how you figure that out would be, for instance, on Facebook. Before I do an ad, I know I want parents. I might want parents who are into youth financial literacy. I might Google youth financial literacy, see how many parents have that hashtag associated with their Facebook or their Instagram or their social media page. If youth financial literacy doesn't come up, I might Google, parenting 101 and see how many parents are part of that group, right? So it's really important, since I'm investing my money and I'm about to do an ad, that my ad is targeting the people that I wanted to target. How involved is that hashtag? If I use a hashtag that nobody's using, like let's say if I wrote FinLit1, and that's the people I want to target, people who are associated with the word FinLit1, I might shoot myself in the foot, because there might not be anybody who's using FinLit1, has that hashtag, or following a page on that, or cares about that part of information. You know what I mean? But keep in mind, a lot of these platforms will ask a person, what are your general interests or needs? Or they will look at what pages you hit like on. So if you hit pages on cooking pages, then guess what? You know what? Somebody else can now target. That's where you get targeted ads. And you're like, how did this person know I like cooking stuff? Why am I seeing all these cooking ad stuff? It's because you hit like on a cooking page, chances are. Or you visit a cooking page a lot. Hence is why cookies are utilized so much. So that's that. So 1, know your audience. 2, when you are testing, create multiple assets, campaigns, so you can see which campaign works the best. In e-commerce, that's really important, is knowing which campaign. So start more than one campaign. Even if it's $10, 5 campaigns at $50. And for each $10, you look to see how many clicks you get, which campaign did the best. Then that would be a campaign that you would invest the most amount of money in, right? Because then it's showing you like, hey, this worked. But you might want to test that campaign out for a week. You can't just do it for one day and think, it worked for one day, I'm good. You have to also keep in mind that maybe that one day was a fluke. So you'll do that campaign maybe for 1 week, $10, and that will be a part of your budgeting when you're creating your investment when you're in e-commerce. E-commerce can be tricky, and it can be costly in times, but if you do it the right way, you can make tons and tons of money. I know people who make $5 to $10 million a year off of e-commerce alone, and just marketing. And some of the products are not unique items that they created. One of them was selling a bathroom toilet bowl cleaner, and she made so much money off of this bathroom toilet bowl cleaner. And this is before Corona and all the paranoia of cleanliness that's happening now. I mean, honestly, the best thing that came out of Corona is that people are washing their hands and being a little bit cleaner than they normally are. But, so this young lady, she, back when toilet bowl cleaners were like by the dozen and Clorox and wipes were by the dozen, she created a cool ad and marketing ad, and then she created a whole thing behind it and campaign and ads. She knew who to target. She targeted stay-at-home moms. She targeted OCD, people with OCD, and people who were really clean, neat freaks and whatever like that. So she put in like those kind of groups, and guess what happened? Those people were able to basically find her product, and she, like, somebody else was selling the same product and might have moved about like 500 items, and in 1 week she was able to sell 10,000 items. So your marketing, your campaign, you doing that research, testing out your ads and seeing which campaign, which is what you call when you're like looking at targeted people, works the best. So there's so much more in e-commerce that we could really do. But I think I'm going to stop there because I've been speaking for an hour and a half already. But I will be sending you guys more information. If you guys wanted to go over more intellectual property, branding, marketing, or e-commerce, let me know. I will be doing another live. But my next live, I will have a special guest. And I'm going to do actually 2 lives with special guests. I'm tired of talking to myself. And and I'm talking to you guys too. Love you guys. But I think it would be cool for you guys to actually have me interview somebody else who's successful. So I have 2 people lined up. One is a male, one is a female. One of them is in the fashion world, and she's doing amazing in the fashion world. And so the next series that I'm going to be working on is going to be passion and purpose. So just kind of discussing things about that. So once again, guys, I'm logging off for now. We went over a whole lot. I really appreciate you guys staying on with me. But as we went through so much, there will be more that I will be sending you once again. So there will be websites for trademarks. There will be websites for marketing and e-commerce stuff. There will be websites and apps that you can utilize for branding. Rather, it's like I mentioned, Canva, which everyone knows. But there's others like Envato that nobody really knows about. And I'm like, that's one of my hidden secrets. And, and that secret came from Keys for Kids. Shout out to them. And Keys Media, because, they, as a marketing brand, they're amazing. They have the best prints and items. But the cool thing is when you have cool friends, they tell you what they utilize sometimes. So you guys, I'll be sending all of this to you guys via email. And for people asking about stocks, etc., I probably will do another one on stocks. But I think I'll probably bring in a guest and have somebody else, share their opinions and pros and cons and talk about everything from Bitcoin to whatever. I'll dive into it deeper. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and this will be on for 24 hours. And, this is just some basics, just going over some things. I look forward to our next conversation.